Hello, everyone, and welcome to movie flashback number 14. In this flashback, we are going behind the scenes of the film Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Click the subscribe button below for future notifications and updates. Click the like button to share this content with other movie fans. So, this year we are celebrating the 70th anniversary of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. When I came up with my first list of movie flashbacks, I was wondering if I had any films in my collection from 1954. I wanted to do a movie flashback for a movie that is as old as my mother. Back in June, my mother celebrated her 70th birthday, so I rewatched the film again, and I realized this is a movie filmmakers will never make again. It is still a fun movie to watch, but the movie idea is really outdated. This movie does not hold up because in the past 70 years, we went through the feminist movement, the start of the information age, and the Me Too movement. But let's start from the top and then analyze it. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers is an American musical film. It was directed by Stanley Donen. It starred Jane Powell and Howard Keel. It premiered in Texas and New York in July, and then it was released nationwide on December 20th, 1954. The running time is approximately an hour and 42 minutes. It was nominated for 5 Oscars. It won for Best Musical Score. According to the American Film Institute, aka the AFI, it is one of the greatest American musical films ever made. And in 2004, it was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress as being, and I quote, culturally, historically, and or aesthetically significant, end quote. So in case you never saw this movie and you don't know what it's about, that's okay. The film takes place in 1850 in the Oregon Territory. So this was after the Native Americans were probably kicked out of their land before Oregon, Idaho, and Washington State received their statehoods, and white folks started moving in and creating towns. Howard Keel plays Adam Potterby, who is considered to be a backwoodsman because he lives out in the isolated country instead of living in town. He arrives in town and starts asking around as to where he can find a wife. The townsmen think he is nuts and he is not going to find a wife. However, that same day he meets Millie, played by Jane Powell, and for her, it was love at first sight, luckily for him. So they get married, and she quits her job at the local restaurant where she used to cook and clean. When she moves into Adam's farm, she finds out he has 6 brothers, and he needed her to not only take care of the house, but cook and clean for him and his brothers. However, Millie is not completely powerless. When she finds out what she has gotten herself into, she lays down some rules in the house that all 7 of them have to follow, or else they won't eat. Her 6 brothers-in-law respects and falls in love with her real quick. So when she decides to go to town to go shopping, they all tag along. Eventually, all 6 brothers meet and fall in love with 6 of the town's women, who all happen to be friends of Millie because everyone loves Millie. Adam has this crazy idea based on a story he read of the Sabine women who lived thousands of years ago before Rome became an empire. He tells his brothers if they miss their girlfriends so much, they should kidnap them, bring them back to the farm, and keep them here during the winter season when they are literally snowed in. Again, Millie lays down some rules. She kicks out Adam and his brothers from the main house so the girls have a place to stay. But love prevails, and while the brothers spend their winter sleeping in the barn, the girls slowly forgive them. Millie's character is the only reason why I can still enjoy this movie. Millie doesn't behave like a victim. Instead, she uses her power in a feminine way, and if the guys don't follow her rules, there are repercussions, which leads to the behind the story of this movie. Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett were hired to write the script. However, they didn't get along with Stanley Donen, and he did not like the script. So Donen called up screenwriter Dorothy Kingsley to work on the script, and Kingsley pointed out to him that the female characters were passive and weak. She had an issue with the original story that Adam wanted to marry his brothers off, giving the girls absolutely nothing to do. Once she rewrote the story, Donen was happy with it and proceeded to the next phase. So Donen reached out to Michael Kidd to choreograph the movie, but initially Kidd turned it down because he thought, and I quote, "Here are these slobs living off in the woods. They have no schooling. They are uncouth. The cows come in and out, and they're going to get up and dance? We'd be laughed out of the house." End quote. Kidd is right, but between his choreography and the songs that ended up on the soundtrack, this movie actually works. Most of the scenes were shot on MGM soundstages in LA. However, the kidnapping scene was shot on location in Idaho. Let's talk about the costumes. The film's costume designer was Walter Plunkett. The costumes for Millie and the girls were made from old quilts that he found at the Salvation Army. That is really clever. We don't talk enough about costume design in movies and how these designers bring characters to life on screen. Donen mentioned that making the film was a nightmare from beginning to end, and I had to do a little bit more digging to find a possible reason why he would say that. I found out that Howard Keel tried to replace Donen with another director, George Sidney. Donen wanted to shoot the entire film on location over the course of a year because the story took place during all 4 seasons. However, MGM refused to give him the budget for it. They thought the film wouldn't make a lot of money at the box office, so they chose to spend more money on other films MGM was working on at that time, including Brigadoon starring Gene Kelly. Then Donen found out that not every theater was able to show a film shot in CinemaScope. So he had to shoot and cut the movie twice. He said he had to put in different sets of marks, light each scene differently, and loop it. He said, and I quote, "We had 2 cutting rooms going on and it cost the studio another $500,000. End quote. The good news is the movie made a profit at the box office. It was a hit with audiences, and according to film historians, I quote, "It was the first film to complete a successful marriage of ballet and comedy." End quote. So, I would like to propose a toast to Stanley Donen and the 70th anniversary of 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. I do feel bad that Donen did not have a good memory of making this film that audiences enjoyed so much over the past 7 decades. You know you love something when it breaks your heart, but you keep going anyway, you keep doing it. Because after this film, he still went on to make more movies. I had a hard time producing and directing my first play, and I had a hard time with a ballet project I was working on during the pandemic. So I understand why Donen said what he said. May he continue to rest in peace. So that is all for today, my friends. I will see you next time with another movie flashback. Until then, take care.